meaning of a lot of my paintings, actually, no, all of them, it emerges in the creative process itself, you know? Like, it's not something where it's like, I'm going to convey this, and here I'm going to use this medium to do it best, you know?
Right.
I don't know.
What does it feel
no,
like?
No, language works like that too, I think. But yeah, sorry, what?
No, that's okay, because it's like, as most of my creative stuff is with writing, so it's like I kind of know what you mean, where it's like there are some times where, like, especially in academia, you kind of have to have a game plan going into it, otherwise it's just going to take so much longer and like be all over the place. But then other times it's like, oh, you'll just sit down and write, and then eventually you kind of work your way someplace.
You write yourself into it. Yeah,
and
that happens
then you're
to me
editing
all the time.
But what does it feel like when you said, like, the meaning arises in the creative process? How would you describe that feeling when you're painting, and how is that different than what that feels like when you're writing? Does it feel different?
I think it's different, like, so let's say I'm writing a paper. I have an idea of what I want it to be about, and in the process of writing about it, oftentimes, like you said, I kind of like write my way into a discovery of some sort, sometimes in an inconvenient way where I'm like, oh, I wrote myself into this, and now I just disproved the entire paper, and I have to go redo it.
Yeah,
but it's still
when you're on a
cool
time crunch, it's like, I'm gonna save
like,
this
fuck,
for
I'm gonna
later.
Save this. I'm gonna save this insight. We're gonna put this in another document, and I'm gonna pretend I didn't learn that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend that I still believe the thing that I just wrote 20 pages about.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I have this idea of what I want it to be about, this general umbrella of like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this, this, and this, and I discover something in the process. But with a painting, usually it's like I come across something that I get that same sort of like feeling, like something resonates in me. I need to paint that, and I'll take a picture of it. And then in the process of painting it, something about, maybe it's like the mindset I'm in when I'm painting that particular piece, just like the characteristics of the painting that are coming into existence, I see the meaning that is already in it and like try to pull that out. Like, and oftentimes it's not anything specific. And this is a new problem for me too. Like, this started being a problem that I actually thought about when I was working on a piece of a friend of mine. And she's behind a door, and she's like lifting up her shirt and showing her boobs. And you can't see her boobs because the glass obscures them. Yeah. And like the light was pink, and I was showing this to a friend of mine. And he basically said that like, this seems like a painting a man would paint because it is like it's depicting the female form, like,
right. It's so male
in an erotic, like in an erotic way. And I'm like, that's such a male gaze thing to say first. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He was right in the sense that it's like a painting is whatever it means to the viewer. So even if I don't see it that way, and I didn't, like, to the viewer, that very well could be what it means. And so then the problem became like, okay, I have this motif, and it's like these colors, like pinks and reds and stuff, and like, what can I do to paint this in a way where it comes up against what like the initial impression of the piece is, as like a crude depiction of like the erotic form, you know? And for me with that piece, it ended up being like just adding more detail in the face and kind of bringing out her expression more. But that's like a new problem for me, where I'm like, this to me is like to me it means like it's an expression of being at home in the body and at home in the world, regardless of one's gender or sex, you know?
Yeah,
that meaning for it kind of arose in the process. I mean, when I initially took that picture, I was just like, hey, can, like, my friends were over, I was like, would one of you stand behind the door? Like, I want another door reference photo.
Yeah.
And we took a couple, I showed her, and she was like, wait, I want to do another one. Can I show my boobs? And I was like, yes, please. And it was just like such a, like, a wholesome moment, like, despite what the reference, like what the motif would suggest, like, it was just such a wholesome, playful moment. And like, I wanted to capture that. And with that one, I know that a lot of people will still perceive it as like, oh, a girl showing her boobs, that's cool, you know?
It's like hypersexual.
And nothing else.
Which it is, there's something deeply artful about the idea that like this artwork does say something about the viewer too.
Exactly,
like the artwork is not casting judgment in a negative way, but like making a judgment on the viewer. Just like whatever your reaction is does say something about you.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, I'm not trying to say that like it's bad. Like I'm not trying to make a moral judgment here, like you said. Because it is a judgment. It does say something about the viewer, but like
ethics
it's being at home in the body.
That.
Yeah, being at home in the body regardless of one's sex or gender, but also not like independently of it, you know? Like it's kind of an affirmation and acknowledgement of that. Like being at home in the body, like not despite, but also not in virtue of.
It's like both and, where it's like I think about this a lot because it's like I love that I'm a woman. I love my femininity, and yet there are also times where it's like you need to, like, we all have the duality of the masculine and the feminine, and like if I really think about it, there is something that like about me, I'm like in the future, they're like in like hundreds of years in the future, if we continue to progress as a species, wouldn't it make sense that we all at some point are kind of gender neutral, and then you kind of just come into your own and you're able to like really strike this balance? And maybe, but also there's a deep beauty that I feel in being a woman and being able to hold both of those things. It's like being at home in your womanhood while still being like, but that's not what makes me me. So like I
absolutely I love
hear
that.
what you're saying.
Yeah, like I feel like that's the ideal form of feminism, is like just existing, not negating or rejecting my femininity as a woman, but also not letting that act as like the barrier of like what
Frame.
I can be. Yeah, I like that.
I think that's really powerful. When and I also love that like you said, it was a wholesome moment. There are so many moments of like non-sexual intimacy that I feel like I've had with like girlfriends, especially with like freedom in our bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's like me and some of my girl group back in Dallas, we all went on a vacation, and truly to like save time and water, it's like, let's all just shower together. Like it's gonna be easier. And some of those are like my most favorite memories, because it was just like being silly and goofy and no one cared, and it was just like free and loving. But
it's like being naked and not nude.
Right, but completely like non-sexual, but also deeply intimate at the same time.
Yeah, because it's like vulnerable. It's showing that it's like I feel safe around you, and I'm comfortable being literally full, like just myself, like without any like walls up. I mean, and that's another interesting thing about the piece, because it's like it is kind of like a vulnerability, but then there's like literally a wall in between, like there's a door in between. So
and it's interesting,
I really like
that it's
that piece.
Like glass, but it's frosted, and it's like
glass,
window.
but it's still a wall. A window, but also it's literally a door, kind of a window. Well, still a wall.
The thing that struck me about it when I first saw it on Instagram was that she was lifting her shirt. That does feel like an invitation, right? That's not like, oh, you're spying on someone. Like, it does not feel like peeping Tom-ish at all. It does feel very much like she's making this choice to show, which feels like empowering, but through the so there's a lot of that built in there.